Let's have a look at Shakespeare's Life and World, published by the Folio Society and by some unknown author not listed on the front. So, at a first glance, this is a huge Folio Society book. Most Folio Society books are pretty small, right? So, in comparison to what they normally publish, this one is absolutely gigantic. Now, it does come in this cream colored slipcase, which we'll have a look at. So, we'll set the book aside and have a look at just the slipcase. So, it is covered in this nice cream paper. And I do like the calligraphy design on the front. It's pretty unique, and it's not something you see very often on Folio Society books. Most of the time, the slipcase is just plain like this with no decoration at all. So this is a pretty interesting thing for, a cheap bulk Folio Society book, right? And it has this, obviously, the title on the front and then Folio Society printed at the bottom. Other than that, slipcase is pretty uninteresting. It does have this white paper on the inside, and it does have this curved design as well, which is supposed to allow you to take out the book easier. So if you have the book in there like that, it lets you grab the book and pull it out like so. Now, it is cut a little poorly. I don't know if all of them are like this, but as you can see, the slipcase comes out much farther than the book. So it's actually in there pretty tight, like you don't have much room to grab it. It should be about there, maybe, with just the spine sticking out just a little, right? But overall, it's not too big of a deep defect, just something I wanted to point out. Now let's look at the actual book. So here it is. And it's pretty interesting, just like the slipcase, for a Folio Society book. Usually they have full cloth bound, maybe they have paper boards that are undecorated, something like that. But this book is not only half bound or quarter bound in cloth, but it's also got this glossy photo paper as the covers, which is very unique for Folio Society books. They don't do this too often. It is the same design on the front and back, but it is pretty nice looking. And as you can see, it says something, Mr. William Shakespeare, comedies, histories, tragedies, according to something. And then the spine itself is very nice, I have to say. It's got this very fine tactile cloth, probably some fancy Italian cloth or something like that. But you can see it says Shakespeare's Life and World in these big bold letters on the spine with the Folio Society logo stamped at the bottom. Overall, the exterior design is very nice. Trimmed and plain page edges, as you would expect, and then a nice little red and white headband in there. And I do like the color of the cloth. It's like some purple royal maroon, maybe. I think it's closer to a purple, but it's a royal color for sure. Very nice. Now moving into the book, we have these gorgeous end papers, which I assume are London. I would think that they're London. I'm not exactly sure because it's very generic, but based on the names of the streets and the fact that Shakespeare is from London, I think he's from London at least. I know he's British, but considering that, I'm pretty sure that these end sheets are of London, and they're printed on this nice, thick, heavy, cream-colored cardstock, just like the slipcase. The title page is also pretty colorful. The entire thing is on a sheet of photo paper printed with, once again, I assume that that's London. Not exactly sure. Maybe it's something else, but pretty nice. We have the little portrait of Shakespeare right there, and it's compiled and introduced by Katherine Duncan-Jones. So that's the author of the book, who's not credited on the outside for some reason, but there you go. And this is from 2004. Nothing interesting in the publishing information, but we do know that it's typeset in Baskerville with Helvetica display. Printed at the Cambridge University, quarterbound in buckram, that cloth right there, and printed with paper sides designed by Chris Wadden. Here's the contents. Here's the introduction. Only a couple pages. Enter William. Perfect. I was not expecting them to have these full page illustrations. I don't know who made these paintings, but they're very nice. If there's, assuming that there's a lot of them like this in the book, and that's not the only one. Oh yeah, this book is packed with illustrations. Although it is all nonfiction, so, you know, if you're interested in nonfiction, maybe this book is for you, and you're interested in Shakespeare. Personally, I'm not too interested in Shakespeare. I mean, I have read a couple of his plays, but nothing much other than that. We're going to flip through this pretty fast because I know there's a lot of stuff in here. So the entire book is printed on that photo paper, all of the text, everything. It's on this very glossy, smooth photo paper, which allows them to put these very colorful pictures all throughout without having to worry about, you know, tipping them in or putting in, tipping in, whatever, you know, putting in extra photo paper, things like that, which makes the book more complicated. So keeping costs down by just putting everything on photo paper at once. Yeah, not going to dwell too much on most of the interior just because there's so much that there's no point in looking at any specific thing unless I see some cool like paintings, things like that. Pretty interesting. The Biodiversity of Tudor England, frontispiece to John Gerard's The Herbal or General History of Plants, 1597. It's quite a nice painting right there. But yeah, that's probably about it for this book. Another painting right there. And a photograph, I guess. But this is a pretty nice book, I must say. Most of their nonfiction seems pretty stale. You know, a lot of biographies on specific people and things like that. But this one is very well designed, I gotta say. Oh, and at the end we have illustrations. Perfect. Which there are many, many, many of. Wow. And sources and acknowledgments. And then at the back, we have different end papers than at the front, which is also pretty neat. Not sure if this is a specific location or if they just put these maps in for the design, but I like them. So that's all for this book. It's not the most interesting thing, I gotta say, the content itself, but the design is very nice. And if you're into Shakespeare, this is probably a great book for you. And it's probably a great resource as well for learning about his works. So that's all for this book, and I'll see you again soon.